What do Meryl Streep, John C. Reilly, and Woody Harrelson have in common? They've all starred in the 2006 film A Prairie Home Companion. The film tells a fictional behind-the-scenes story on the real-life long-running radio show of the same name. So what person could bring such star power to a film that garnered rave reviews? His name? Garrison Keillor. Not only did he write the script for the film, but he also starred alongside Hollywood's A-list talent. However, his character was by no means fictional. In fact, he played the radio show's creator, himself. 1966 was the year a younger Garrison Keillor graduated from the University of Minnesota with a bachelor's degree in English. It was there Garrison began his ascension into the world of radio broadcasting as he worked for a student-operated station known as Radio K, which is still the university's premier radio station. In 1969, Garrison began working at Minnesota Education Radio, hosting the morning show. A few years later, he resigned from the Minnesota Educational Radio as he was not happy with the interference in his musical programming. But he later rejoined in October of that year, when the radio station was renamed A Prairie Home Companion. Garrison had showcased local bands during the morning slot. However, Garrison had always expressed interest in a live Saturday night program, and on a July 6 evening, A Prairie Home Companion had its first live broadcast. The show featured numerous comedy skits, which included Garrison and the ensemble cast. One of the most popular being News from Lake Wabagon, which claimed to be a report of Garrison's fictional hometown.
Well, it's been a quiet week in Lake Wabagon, Minnesota, my hometown. Weather's gotten warm. Whole flocks of robins arrived on St. Patrick's Day. The owls are nesting. The mallards are mating as well. Maple syruping has begun in Lake Wobegon, and all of the fish houses are off the lake, except for that enormous one that Mr. Detmer's cousin had put up. He's down in Chicago. He's never used it this season, and it's an enormous 15-ton fish house sitting out there in the middle of the lake, and there's a satellite dish and an enormous flat-screen TV. You can see it through the picture window. You can see the screensaver on this 6-foot high-definition TV, and it's got fish swimming back and forth on the screensaver. It is so heavy out there that during the January thaw, it kind of sank down into the lake a little bit, and they made calls and they left messages on his voicemail in Chicago telling him that your fish house is sinking. And do you want us to drag it in off the ice? And no response. And so there it is. And now there's open water not too far away from it, so nobody's going to go out there and rescue it. Men just stand on shore and look out at that 40-foot bright green fish house with the fish swimming back and forth on the screensaver on the big flat screen high definition TV. Not far from it is the purple Pontiac for the Guess the Ice Melt contest that the Sons of Canute put on every year. You pay $1 a guess to guess when it goes through the ice, and the winner gets a garden tractor. And the profits all go to the Shining Star Scholarship Fund, which sends some bright young person off to college. Not that college is a great investment for our town. It's not, because all these bright young people go away and they never come back. They get too much education, and they go into that black hole of self-consciousness of the overeducated. But we do it, we just do it on principle or something. The load limits are in effect on the county roads, 5 tons per axle, because the ground is soft. But of course, north and west of town, out in the dairy farms, the milk haulers are still hauling no matter what, and the sheriff understands that. The milk has got to go out when it's got to go out, and that's why sheriff is an elective position. so that they understand that strict enforcement of the law would kill us, and we need discretion at all times. This big snow melt in town left a foot of water in the basement of the Chatterbox Cafe, and that was the subject of conversation, of course, because the smell was rather strong. They had to call a truck out from St. Cloud to pump out all the water and also to apply a powerful fungicide to the basement, and so there was that chemical smell that permeated everything, including the scrambled eggs and the sausage and the toast and the coffee. And Lyle Jansky, the old biology teacher, was telling about an article that he'd read in the paper that said that there is an airborne fungus that when you breathe it, it causes memory loss, and you can't remember. Suddenly you can't remember what happened last week. He told about this, and then everybody was very quiet, trying to remember last week. The harder you try to remember something, the more it recedes. You may remember that from high school when you took algebra tests. Memory cannot be subpoenaed. It has to come of its own volition. It just comes. Something brings it back. I sat in the Chatterbox Cafe and I drank my coffee and I ate some burnt toast. And just the smell of burnt toast brought back a flood of memories of when I was a child, and breakfast in that cold, cold house in the morning. My father believed that if you couldn't see your breath, you were wasting fuel. So we sat and exhaled clouds of breath as we ate the burnt toast and the terrible hot cereal, the hot shredded roast. And it was a cold, cold house, and heat did not rise in that house. This all came back to me just from the smell of burnt toast. I remembered going up to bed, up those steep stairs, up to that gray linoleum attic, and getting into bed. Sometimes
Garrison entertained the audience over the radio with his friendly voice and knack for storytelling. Critic Michael Klein states that one of Keillor's greatest skills as a narrator is to use both oral and literate disclosure features. Garrison also explored his talents outside of radio and began to do voiceovers and narrations. His voice captured the essence of what he read. This is apparent in the narration of Robert Frost's poem, The Darkest Night of the Year, which also showcases diversity in storytelling.
whose woods these are, I think I know. His house is in the village, though. He will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. My little horse must think it queer to stop without a farmhouse near. Between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year. He gives his harness bells a shake to ask if there is some mistake. The only other sounds the sweep of easy wind and downy flake. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep. And miles to go before I sleep. And miles to go before I sleep.
His voice and charisma with a hint of Midwestern charm also made for great advertisement as well.
Here's a little song for anyone who's ever hated, in the key of grrr. Can hate be good? Can hate be great? Can hate be good? Can hate be great? Can hate be something we don't hate? We'd like to know why it is so that certain diesels must be slow and thwack and thrum and plong and hum and clatter clack. Hate something, change something. Hate something, change something, make something better. Oh, isn't it just bliss when a diesel goes like this? Sing it like you hate it. Hate something, change something. Hate something, change something, make something better.
Garrison is a man who has lived his life by a variety of philosophies and quotes. Couple are, I can write anywhere. I write in airports. I write on airplanes. I've ridden in the back seats of taxis. I write in hotel rooms. I love hotel rooms. I just write wherever I am whenever I need to write. Another, some look lies in not getting what you thought you wanted, but getting what you have, which once you have got it, you may be smart enough to see is what you would have wanted had you known. It's philosophies like this that have helped Garrison achieve an outstanding career in radio and film. Now, more than 30 years later, his breakout live radio show, A Prairie Home Companion, has hit the road, and he's reaching out to the people who have helped him the most, the fans.
We do A Prairie Home Companion out of St. Paul, but of course we travel around because a writer is supposed to get out and mingle with people and see things. See things like rhubarb.
It just grows all on its own. I don't fertilize or nothing. It's on the south side of my house.
That is the largest rhubarb leaf I've ever seen in my life.
He's not a fancy kind of guy.
No flies on you now.
He's ordinary. He likes rhubarb like the rest of us.
To speak for your people, the people that you come from. They're raising children, they're keeping homes, they're keeping life together. And they have a certain wit and style and a tone of voice when they're in a good mood, when they're happy. And to be able to represent that in your own voice, the sound that your parents, that your cousins, that your friends, that your family make, when they're really clicking, when they're really cooking, that's a challenge, I think, for a writer.